Hello and welcome to Outside In. My name is Steven, and today we're going to be doing something just a little bit different. I'm going to rebuild of a battery pack for an M18 battery. We're going to look at the spot welder that I'm going to be using. We'll also be looking at the battery that I bought. It's a Chinese battery. It was a 5 amp hour. We'll be looking at that because I bought it for something other than upgrading it. I had an idea for making an external power supply for my M18 tools. I actually made this external power supply but with a different battery, a smaller battery. I was buying the bigger 5 amp hour size because it had more room inside the case for putting a power supply. I decided not to do that, but instead I was like, well, why don't I just create a video repairing an M18 Milwaukee battery. I decided to buy some batteries from batteryhookup.com. So I bought some batteries from them, and by the time I bought Samsung batteries from them, 3100 milliamp hour, I tested them out of the box. They were brand new, and every one of the cells tested at least 3150, which is what they're rated for, and over 3200 milliamp hour. So I'm building a battery that, instead of being, the Chinese battery turned out, once I took it apart and tested out all the cells individually, it was probably a little over 4 amp hour instead of 5 amp hour. So, but with this new Samsung cells, it'll actually be over 6 amp hour battery. So I want to bring you along with me while I build this. Hopefully it will help you to know how to fix your dead battery. Sometimes a dead battery doesn't mean that all the cells are bad. It could be one cell that is defective. After charge and discharge, charge, discharge over many times, some of the cells or one of the cells may decide to go bad, which would actually cause all the cells to not register correctly and not work correctly. So just because your pack is dead doesn't mean all the batteries are dead. A lot of times what you can do is you can take a battery apart and salvage all the cells out of it. And especially, hopefully there's only one cell that's bad, so that gives you a whole bunch of cells to use for flashlights or whatever you need. I wouldn't recommend adding a brand new cell to an old pack. If you're going to rebuild a pack, rebuild with all new cells. But the best place to get those cells would be batteryhookup.com. I will try to remember, if I do, put a link to battery hookup in this description, along with the spot welder and the battery that I'm using for this build. Okay, without further ado, let's get going. Let's get started, and we will take you to the bench. Okay, number 2. Okay, and this is where I'm going to be building the pack. Now, the first thing though that we're going to do is I'm going to show you where I got all of this stuff that I'm going to be using today. Today I'm going to be using the spot welder, and I got it from AliExpress. It does take a little while to get, but it really is truly worth it. Once you see this operate, this is such an incredible spot welder for $21. I couldn't afford to buy one of those $300 or $400 spot welders. It has very high reviews. Works very well, so that's why I got it. I have actually been doing some testing with it. Now, this is I went on eBay and I found a 18-volt battery for an M18 Milwaukee tool. But as it says 5 amp hour, but you can choose 4 amp hour, 6 amp hour, 9 amp hour. And this battery, when I actually took it apart and I tested all the cells individually, all the cells together test a little over 4 amp hour. So it was not even a 5 amp hour. But that's to be expected. But it was only $26. And then I got the batteries from batteryhookup.com. These are new Samsung 18650s, 3150 milliamp hour batteries. Once I ordered these, I ordered a pack of 30. I would like to get a pack of 100, but I just don't have that much money right now. So I just got what I needed. But these turned out to be like $2 a piece. And it's going to take 10 batteries to create this pack. So that's $20, so $46 total for the battery. And then I guess your time involved and, you know, the pieces of metal that you put it together with. You can get batteries that you take apart. I bought a number of batteries from these guys that you take apart for the cell, to salvage the cells. And now they have some bike batteries, e-bike batteries. but they have car module batteries, and they have individual cells, and this here is another one that I'm going to be using today that I built. I bought a bunch of these a long time ago, and I built a jump starter. All the cells that I put together into this pack that I built is 1400 amp start capacity. I've started big diesel engines with it already, so it's a pretty awesome product. I'm just using that jump starter hooked into this board to power it. So let's get started building here. All right. Alright, now this is the battery that I bought off of eBay. And let's take it apart here. Little magnetic tray there to put the screws in so I don't lose them. And let's see if we can have some fun welding, spot welding. Okay, now this is the battery apart. And then this just comes, then you just pull this out. Oh my goodness, look, there's no batteries. No, I know. I already said that I'd already taken this apart. I decided to create this video with a DIY instead. And so we're going to have some fun today, and I want to make sure here the okay, come on. The strips I'm going to be using, I wanted at least 2.2. And I probably should use 0.3 on this, but I'm not sure. I don't have 0.3, so all I have is 0.2. So that's what we'll have to use. So we'll need 1, 2, 3, 4. Three, 4, 5 just in case. Okay, all right, now these are the batteries that I bought from Battery Hookup. Gotta make sure we're getting the batteries in here correctly. So this is the negative side, so the negatives have to go out to here. Okay, negative, positive on this side, the negative, then positive, then negative, then positive. Okay. Yeah, because you got to make sure when you put this together that you put it together correctly, because if you want, this side is okay once you do this side, but you got to make sure that they're right, because once you get to this side and you start spot welding, if you have these batteries in backwards, you're going to have a big bluey over here. Big splash of light because of shortening the batteries. But just make sure this side of the pack is negative, this side over here is positive at the end. So negative over here to start, the negative side on this side, and then negative goes, or negative goes to the positive, to the negative, to the positive, to the negative back here, to the positive, over to the negative, to the positive back here, and then over to the negative, up to this positive, which this connection and this connection is the main connection of this pack. So that's where you'll get the 18 volts from these two places right here. This here, and then on this end. So you're jumping from this one to this one, and then from this one to this one to this one, then this one to this one, down to this one, and jumped over to this one, and that, then you have these two. So let's see. All right, we gotta figure. Okay. Now we've got to cut our pieces. To make our battery pack. Okay, so yeah. So they just cut it out exactly square. So we only need 2. So we just need a square. And then the next square will be this one. And then we need 2 more for the other side. Oh, wow, I just realized I'm not in camera. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do here is these two are going to connect this, the positive to the negative on this side. Then the next two are going to bring these two together. And then we'll flip it over and do the other side. But the first thing that we want to do is we need to put these pieces in here. Okay, so let me bring out my little board here that I made for testing strips. Get the spot welder powered up. This is the power setting. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different power settings. The first one usually, so far, the first one's been pretty good, but I'm going to be starting out on 2, I believe, because putting this on top of this, I think I'm going to need a little bit more oomph. We'll find out here in just a second. But if I choose this next one up, see this flashing? That means it's too much for this board. What my recipe that I chose is too much for this board. See, that's up to 30 amp hour, at 50C. So that's more powerful than this board can handle. So I need to go back down to 1. Now if I'm going to use a higher, like 30 or 40 amp hour battery, and then the C rating, let's see if I do, okay, I can go to 20 to 30. 30 to 40 is too much. So that's how you, when this starts flashing, that means that it's not going to work, because you can put your spot weld down all day long and it's not going to do anything, because it's a protection to keep from blowing the board out, which I like that feature. But I just go on 1 and then go all the way to 50, 60C, which is plenty for this, for what I've tested anyway. And then I go, usually I do it at 1, just going on to the battery, but I'm going to start out with 2 because I have to put these together first. I think these are 100% nickel. Anyway, when you put these strips together, it takes a little more power to do the strips together instead of doing it to the battery. So let's try this anyway and see how it goes. I've got to make these first. And you don't want to press down real hard. That's where a lot of people make mistakes, and that's where I made my mistakes. When I bought my first spot welder, I thought it was junk. But I found out a couple months later that, because I bought another one, and I thought it was junk as well. But what I found is that the reason I thought it was junk is because I was pressing too hard. If you press real super hard, that's why some of these spot welders don't work. And a lot of people say that they're junk because they're pressing too hard. All you have to do is just put enough pressure on it to put the two pieces of metal together. And that's it. You don't want to indent it. And then touch the other side the same way. And that's when you'll get the best weld. Oops, that didn't work. Okay, let me go to 3. See if that does any better. Oh, that still didn't work. That's not good. Okay. Okay, I think that might work. I just need to load it down with welds. Put one more in there. Okay, let's make another one. Now, I'm going to test first, before I mess around with these brand new batteries. Let me go up one more on that one. Wow, I'm having to go higher than I did the other day with this, but maybe it's just that, yeah, that's good. Okay, it could be too that I maybe need to charge my battery back up. Maybe my battery is getting a little low, on the low side. Okay, so let's get these welded onto the batteries. Just lined up right. Gotta weld this tab on here. And also what you got to make sure too is when you're spot welding with these things, you just want to make sure that you do not touch these together, because that would be an incredible, it will scare you, let me tell you. It will scare you. It'll throw sparks like crazy. I just want to make sure. Okay, now when you're building a battery pack like this, these are the parallel. These are parallels. These two are parallel. These two are parallel. And then all of these parallels are going to go in series. So that's why you have to have positive, negative, positive, negative, positive. And it starts with a negative on this side. So the negative goes to the positive of that battery, then jumps over to the negative, which makes a series. And now this negative goes to the positive of that battery. Then it jumps over to the negative of the next battery, goes to the positive, and then these two have to be jumped together because it's like a big snake. Think of it like a big snake when you're putting battery packs together in series. Because people might be saying, well, which two do I hook together? Well, it's like a snake. It's just, think of it like a big snake. It goes, this is one whole battery and all these are going to be in series. So you just want to start with this one, goes down, and it goes over. This is the bridge. This is where you want to bridge over to this battery. And then it goes up to here and then bridge from this battery to this battery. And then go to the end of that battery and then bridge over to the next battery. Go up to the end of that battery, bridge over to the next. Come down, bridge over to the next, and go up. And this is going to be the other side of the battery. The negative and the positive of the batteries. Think of it like a big snake. let's do this one. Put these two in parallel. Then we have to jump a piece over to this. Now that brings up a point that I want to make. When I bought this, like I said, when I bought this for a different purpose, this pack for a different purpose. I wasn't intended on making a battery out of it. And what I'm going to make the point of is when you take this apart originally, it already has metal that comes all the way down and hooks just the way it's supposed to. So if you're ever going to rebuild one of these packs, make sure that you leave all of this in there. That way you don't have to do what I'm doing. I'm having to do this a lot differently. If I would have done this a lot differently if I would have known I was going to do this in the beginning. Because these batteries come with these wires. This metal here comes all the way down. All the way down. Same on the other side. And that's perfect. This is the same way. Comes out here, goes down to here. When you take these apart, just cut it right where the weld is to get the old batteries out. That way you have all of this still there. And more than likely, you won't even have to add anything to be able to spot weld to the new cells if you take off the old one correctly. So that's why I'm having to go through all these extra steps. Okay, and then when you get onto this side, just make sure you just got to be so careful when you're building battery packs. These two are connected together. Now, if I made a mistake and I laid this across these two, I would get a pretty big bang. So just be careful. Remember, this is your first one, the negative first, your main negative, going to the positive, jumping over to the negative of the next battery, going to this battery, and now we have to jump from this battery to this battery. So just make sure that when you put this down, putting it down in the correct orientation. Okay, and then this last one, negative here, remember, main negative, positive, over to the negative of the next, to the positive, jumping over to the negative, going to the positive of the this battery, and then jumping over to the negative of the next battery, to the positive, and then this positive jumps to this one, negative, like that. So that will complete the battery. Oh, I don't know. I hope that... This will be the very first time I've actually rebuilt a battery pack. Alright, here's the moment of truth. And the moment of truth, let me get my meter in here. Main positive, main negative should be 18 volts or 20.6. So it is correct. Well, actually, if it wasn't correct, we would have known way before now. Okay, so there we go. Oh, now the real test, I guess, the real test to see if it's going to fit back in the pack. These welders are good for like up to 0.15. This says it'll do 0.2 or 3, even 0.3, but I think what I need to do is I think I need to upgrade because your leads. If you have a spot welder that does not seem to be working, look at the leads. If you put bigger leads, and I'm looking into getting, I just don't have the money right now, but I did find some leads about twice this size, which will allow this to carry many more amps, which will cause this to actually make this work better. Because I've seen videos on YouTube where they've been testing this, and other spot welders, they end up putting bigger wires on it, and they get much better results. I don't know why, when they make these things, why they don't give you bigger wires to begin with. I don't understand that. Does not make any sense, because most everybody that uses these, unless they come with big enough wires already. Now, there are some. There's one I'm looking at right now. I can't remember the name of it. That it comes with leads twice this size. And that would be beautiful. I found some leads, and I think they're like $12, I think. And they're actually the ones that make the one I was just telling you about, but they sell leads by themselves. So I'm thinking about getting a couple of those. They're from Germany or somewhere. I can't remember. Not from the U.S., unfortunately. But the test now is going to be, let's turn this off so we don't short anything out. All right, now the real test, like I said, is going to be now to see if this will go back in the case. Now the lid will go on it. Okay. All right. So I guess some are you saying the ultimate test, of course, is going to be putting it in a drill. And see if it works. And I guess you're right, because that would be the ultimate test. Well, actually, there's two more ultimate tests. First, put it in a drill, make sure it works the drill, and then, like some of you may be thinking, put it in the charger and see if it'll take a charge. Because, yeah, it's 20.6 volts. So, I charged these cells up individually before because like I said, I tested these. I did a capacity test on these cells when I bought them. So, they're pretty much charged up, but still, they should be able to take some charge. Alright, now this is my Milwaukee Fuel Impact. Oh no, it didn't work. Why is it not working? Oh, that's not good. Ah. Well, I don't get it. Why is it not working? Alright, I don't know what happened there. Well, now it's working. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Maybe it needed to be, since you rebuilt the pack. Oh, maybe it needed to get activated. And reactivating it would be putting it in a charger. Maybe that's what was going on. When you rebuild a battery pack and it's not working, it could be that you have to put it into the charger to reactivate the board. Just like if you're buying a board to replace the one that's in a battery, I do believe that once you rebuild the pack, you have to put it in a charger, a Milwaukee charger, and it is supposed to activate the new board. And I never thought of that. I forgot that. And that's why I was trying to figure out why, because the voltage was right. And the battery display wasn't even working on the battery, but now it is. Well, when it's out of the charger. Let me see. I did the last time. Yeah. Yeah, you can't see it on there, I'm sure, but yeah, there it is. Because that wasn't working. Once I put it in here, then it started working. And I think it was because putting it into the charger activated the board again. I think that's... so thank you, God, for that. I think that's what it was. It wasn't anything I did wrong. So, we got a new battery. 6 amp hour battery instead of a 4 amp hour. Well, so I hope you enjoyed this. I did. I enjoyed this. It was interesting. So remember, if you're going to do this, when you take your battery pack apart, leave as much of the original stripping in the battery as you can possibly get, so you don't have to piece it together like I did. If your spot welder doesn't seem to be doing that great, try bigger leads, and I'm sure you'll get way better results. And that's what I have to do. I have to get better leads. I'll just see if this holds up. But like I said, this gives you an idea of how to do it, what to do, how to rebuild your battery pack, save yourself some money, take care of yourself, take care of each other. Remember, always find somebody who needs to laugh and make it happen. Make it happen. God bless. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. And if you have any ideas, please let me know what they are so I can get a video together for you. See ya.